Welcome, everybody. My name's Jeff St Laurent, and this is the Tuesday Live Show. I'm very excited to be here today because this topic is one that's very important, and it's basically how to ramp up your business in the last month of the calendar year. We're approaching December, and whether you're watching this live now, obviously it's relevant for the time. But if you're watching the recording of this at some point, it doesn't matter what month it is. Just because it's December doesn't mean, oh, it's starting a new year. It doesn't mean that you can't use these principles in July or in March or any other month of the year for that matter. Before we get going, I record all my Tuesday live shows. I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com, in the university. So go ahead and check that out. I have a lot of great resources in there. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. So I have a lot of resources there right on the homepage. If you want to start with that resource, enter your name and email address. You can get it's an audio course or audio recording called Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. And even if you've launched your coaching business, it's just definitely something you want to consider listening to. In addition to that, even if you're not interested in that resource, I'd urge you to enter your name and email address. That puts you into my email community. That allows me to communicate with you on a weekly basis. So some great content, great information, not only on just helping you out. I love to obviously do these things to educate you as a coach, but keep you streamlined, keep you focused as well. We've got a lot of great offerings, but as we're entering the last month of the year, as you go into 2021, if you're in a position where you're like, I'm ready to rock and roll with this, but you need some help, you're confused, you're frustrated, maybe you don't want to get to that spot, you need help with marketing, you need help with your niche, you need help dialing it in so you can get your message out there, you can feel comfortable about it, you can feel comfortable about what you're charging, how to accept payments, how to create that sales conversation, take someone through a process that you feel comfortable with, that at the end you can ask for the sale and you can actually get paid as a coach. If you need help with any and all that stuff, consider working and hiring with me as your mentor coach. If that's something you're considering, I do have a couple spots open before the end of the year. Visit sellingcoaching.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page. I will follow up with you. I'm literally going to call you up and we will create a relaxed conversation and decide where to go from there. So with that being said, let's jump into this topic. Now, most of the time when we get to the end of the year especially, the holidays are here, the hustle and bustle. It's kind of like the branding of the holidays. Once, and it depends where you're listening to this, right? If it's Thanksgiving in the U.S., right? But so if you're in a different part of the country or the world, sorry, then it might be your Thanksgiving in Canada, different, already went by, etc. So, but at the end of the day, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or something else, New Year's is New Year's for everybody. There's a phase from, like late November, mid-late November through, January 1st or the first week of January that there's kind of a brand, if I can call it that, where everyone just kind of like gets consumed with things, with the holidays, with planning, and maybe this year's different with COVID, etc. But regardless of whatever it is, people start winding things down in terms of business-wise, or at least it seems that way for most people. There's a lot more of a reason like, oh, well, I'm busy right now, I'll just start it in the new year, etc. No matter where you are in your business, whether you've been going for a while or especially if you've been going for a while, but even especially if you just started or you haven't even started yet and you want to, now's the time. Now is always the time. Like I said, it doesn't matter at the beginning of the show, and it doesn't matter whether it's December, it's January, it's whatever. Now is always the time, because the longer you wait, something else is always going to come up. This isn't rocket science. You've heard this before. But what I want to share today is a philosophy that I've learned, or it's more of a principle actually, in entrepreneurship, and then kind of like what I've done or what I do specifically, what you can do specifically, so that your first quarter of the new year, or if this is in January when you listen to it, or sorry, if this is in July when you listen to it, the next quarter will be productive for you and you can create income. And the philosophy, or say a principle, if you will, is, with entrepreneurship, is that we get paid what we get paid for today. Like if I'm getting business today, I've got a new client today, it's because of the work I did yesterday. And yesterday doesn't literally mean yesterday, like the day before today. It means typically months ago. So if you're busy right now in your business, it's most likely because months ago, many months, a few months, the last years, etc., but especially, the last X amount of months, you've been doing the work and you've planted the seed, so to speak, and now you're reaping the harvest. And it's the same analogy of, planting a garden. There's no difference to that. Now we understand this, but it just said differently, what we get paid for today, it's because of the work we did yesterday. So December or November, December, especially going into a new year, if you want to create a very busy January and February, productive busy, income busy, it starts now. And you have an advantage because there's a lot of other people that start taking more time off. They let their foot off the gas, so to speak. And I'm the type of person who's like, all right, if you're going to let the foot off the gas, I'm going to put my foot on the gas. I'm going to take advantage of any situation that I can. It doesn't mean that we're always on the gas. Right? We got to find our pace, which is very, very important in entrepreneurship. That's why whenever I'm working with my mentor coaching clients, one of the biggest things we've got to do is find their pace based on their life, whether it's personally, business-wise, the work they've got to do, the assignments they leave from my mentor coaching sessions with, whatever's going on. And that can vary over time. But the point is right now is now is a great opportunity for you to really step on the gas pedal and start doing things. And now, contrary to what people say, like, oh, everyone's busy right now, they're shopping, they're online, they're doing this stuff, and they're distracted. And it's like, okay, well, they're not working as much. All right, so you could say like, oh, that's a reason why I should wait, but those are the very same reasons why we deserve to be moving forward right now. Is they're not working as much. They're online more. Who knows? People are online more than they are now with these times, the COVID. But the point is that it's a perfect opportune time. They're not spending as much time at work. They are have more downtime during the holidays, especially once they have the days off, etc., or they have vacation time. And what they're actually sitting and spending time with their family and playing with their kids. That really doesn't happen as much as it probably should. What are they doing? They're sitting on the couch. They're watching Netflix. They're scrolling on Facebook. They're, on social media, etc. Sometimes downtime isn't good for people, right? They don't know what to do with themselves. So there's exposure to creates a window of opportunity to communicate with people. What otherwise might be a very busy mom, dad, CEO, entrepreneur, whoever they are, is now not quite as busy. So I look at that as a great opportunity. Whatever you hear as reasons, or you're most likely have heard, or maybe you're saying to yourself, those very reasons can be spun a different way. It's the great coaching question, what's another way of looking at that? Or if the opposite were true, what would be the case? And it helps shift perspective. It's kind of like the Nike shoe salesman or sneaker salesman who goes to this third world country, and they send two over there. And the first one comes back, and the whole goal was to find out if there's any opportunity, if there's a market for sneakers out there. And the first one comes back and it's like, no, there's no market because no one wears any shoes. And the other one comes back and goes, oh my God, there's a huge market because no one wears any shoes. Same circumstances, two very different perspectives of opportunity. And that's all I'm looking for you to do right now is if January is a great time where most likely, if you're serious about your business, whatever stage you're at in your business, you're going to want to like, oh yeah, January comes. Oh, everyone thinks all of a sudden there's this magical January 1st and there's this reset and all of your poor habits and all of your weak mindsets and all of the things that, let's say, that don't serve you. We all have them. I'm not saying I'm immune to those things either, but all these things that I've been doing for the past, dozens or decades of years are just magically going to stop. And now I'm going to get fit and I'm going to eat better. I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to make lots of money and I'm going to grow my business and I'm going to have an awesome relationship. And it's like, no, don't be stupid. Don't be silly. The reality is that, just because it's, yes, I get the reset of it, but you know what? Tomorrow morning, November 25th is no different than January 1st, except for the way you perceive it. And so I'm trying to see this as a universal principle of not just, going into the new year or ramping up in the last part of the year, but I want you to see it as a universal principle for, whatever day it is. it's just your perspective on it. But what I want you to really be doing is it's an opportunity to start reaching out to people, especially people that you don't know, creating some new connections. I love this time of the year because, like I said, people are slowing down, but I want to start creating some new opportunities. I want to start, connecting with people on social media. I want to start, setting up some speaking engagements. Do the legwork now. So a big thing that I help my mentor coaching clients with, whether it's one-on-one or in groups, is, when we get to that marketing phase, once you're set up for that, is I want to help get them out in front of people. If you're not speaking your message in front of people on some type of consistent basis, I'm not going to say daily or weekly or monthly, just on a consistent basis. I do these live shows on a weekly basis because I want to speak in front of people, right? We've got a handful plus of people live right now. I'm so happy you're here. We got, let's say a couple dozen or plus more are going to watch the recording of this at some point, maybe 30, 50, 60 people over the course of time. Not huge numbers. I'm just giving you the realities of where I'm at in my business. I don't have, 8,000 views, 1 million views, things like that, right? It's steady over time. But what it does is it not only hones my skill, but it keeps me putting myself out there, right? I did a speaking engagement last week for the International Coach Federation. Obviously, this is my demographic, right? And I spoke, I think we had 19 people on the call. I did a topic on selling and a process on how to sell your coaching and market yourself, right? But that's my version of that. But that believe it or not, that event, in the events I did with the ICF this year for 2020, I was working on that with those people the year before in 2019. Like 6 months in 2019, we worked through and we set a schedule up for 2021. So that played itself out now. So the stuff I'm working on now and in the past months is going to start to set me up for my success in what I'm going to be doing in this next coming year. So there's always that the lag effect, or the harvesting effect, if you will, is like there's a germination phase where the seed has to grow and it needs to be nurtured. And that's what I feel like a lot of marketers don't attest to in their marketing. A lot of what entrepreneurs, us coaches, don't attest to in what we're doing is like, oh, we're coming into the gates and we're full of passion and vigor and this juice to help people and grow our business and create some income while doing what we love. And we realize it takes time. I'd be shocked if you really had a candid conversation with any person out there, for that matter, on any topic in terms of creating a healthy body, a healthy relationship, a successful business. I'm talking just 3 pillars that we all aim for in some ways. And I think if you had a candid conversation with anybody, for that matter, and we asked them, what are their expectations? How much time do you feel this is going to take, or do you feel this is going to happen fairly quickly? I think the average person, in candidly speaking, is going to say no, I want it to happen quickly, but it's most likely going to take time. I think the average person is still, even candidly speaking, probably has a misconception of what taking time means, because I've worked with people all the time, and I've been there myself, where I've been doing something for a month, and I'm thinking, all right, why isn't it happening yet? All right, I'm in communication with my mentor coaching clients, and all right, I've been doing this now for 3 weeks and no one's called me back yet. I'm like, all right, let's do it 3 more weeks. Let's take a look at what you're doing. We're not going to do it blindly. We're not going to, keep tabs of what's happening, our statistics. I have them keep track of their statistics. Send me what you're doing. Send me what you're sending out. What's the conversation like? I'm monitoring it. We're monitoring it and making sure it's as effective as possible. And so we tweak it along the way. But still, it's like, all right, let's do it for another 3 weeks. Let's do it for another 3 months. Let's do it for another 3 years. It's like, and I always pose that out for people is like when I set my mentor coaching clients up with a plan of action, let's say, marketing plan. I'm like, all right, so, let's set off on this right now, and we're not going to book our next session just yet. I'm going to start to let this play out next few 2, 3, 4 weeks. Let's talk. We'll be in communication with what's going on. Send me what's happening with the emails, these responses, so we can tweak and get better, and we'll find the next time to meet. But as we start doing that, I think the average person doesn't really even know what to expect in terms of the length that it takes. But when I lay it out like this, I'm like, if you were to do this consistently and reach out to people on a daily basis, and if it's one person, that's all that matters, right? If it's 2, if it's 5, it's even better. But if you were to do even some small numbers, 1 to 5 contacts on a daily basis, let's just say 5 days a week, over the first month or two, it's still pretty sizable. But even if you haven't gotten results yet, if you're genuinely consistent with it, with your follow-up, and you keep good records, a good spreadsheet of what you're doing, what you've said, when it was said, what follow-ups needed, if anything. If you're really doing a good job with that, expand that out over 6 months, over 12 or 18, over 24 months, and then beyond. And when I say that, inevitably the person's like, oh my God, yes. And that's even in a frustrated state. So the point is that starts now. And what's going to happen in 2021 starts now. And every day that you delay, every day that you pause, every day that you rationalize, it's those rational lies that you tell yourself as to why tomorrow is going to be better and why today doesn't work, or a situation that just like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. There's a situation when I was in the fitness industry, and it was around nutrition. I'll share this quick little story, which is relevant for this. Is that and I don't remember if I read this or I made it up or I heard it from somewhere, but I'll just say I made it up because it sounds good. But either way, the point is that if you are driving your car and you get a flat tire, like it sucks. You're like, oh, I got a flat tire, right? And whether you can change it or not, etc. But it sucks, and now you're gonna be late for something or whatever it is, and you get a flat tire. Do you then go around and take a knife and slash the other 3 tires? Or do you just fix the tire, call someone, fix the tire, and then move on and just accept what it is, and then move on and try and create the best rest of the day you do? Well, I hope the answer would be obvious. You're not going to go around and slash the other 3 tires, right? You're not going to sabotage yourself. That's often what happens, like in dieting, is that, people start the day off and they have great intentions. They're driving along, and all of a sudden they eat something crummy, or they're in a situation like, oh, I got to have this cookie or these 2 cookies or these 5 cookies, right? And then they blow their tire, right? And then they're like, oh, the rest of the day is shot. And so they just eat like crap the rest of the day. Well, that's like going around and slashing the other 3 tires. It's like, well, just because you made a poor choice doesn't mean you can't create better choices for the rest of the day. And the same thing goes with entrepreneurship, right? Just because, this morning you woke up and you had great intentions of, reaching out to people in your business or setting this up or making a call or following up with somebody or doing something on your website or whatever, and you didn't do it. And now all of a sudden it's noontime, it's 3 p.m. and you're like, oh, are you going to go around and slash the other 3 tires and blow the rest of the day and rationalize like, oh, well, this day is shot? Or are you going to be like, all right, well, yeah, so it's 3 o'clock, can I get in an hour and make a couple calls? Or can I get in 30 minutes and do something productive so I can feel good for the day? That's the difference of what I'm talking about right now, because then tomorrow is really today. That's all that is you've just sped up time. Like literally, this is like Back to the Future, if that even makes sense. Right? But like if you were going to postpone to tomorrow, but then you do it today, it's like you just gained a whole day. And to me, that's what I do with perspective. Like this, trust me, I'm not sitting here like I'm the freaking man and I got this all down and I talk about this stuff. It doesn't mean I do it all the time. I'm being frank with you. Like I'm the same as you. I'm no different. I have a system and a discipline, and there are times where I'll be thinking, man, I've got to do this. I'm just like, oh, and I procrastinate and I don't do it. And then it's just like it's going on. I know I want it done, and I'm like, oh, I could do it tomorrow, and then maybe I just get away from it. And then there's a certain point where I kind of say to myself, I'm like, well, if I did do it today, then I don't have to do it tomorrow, and that either gives me free time tomorrow or it gives me more space to do other things that I want to do, whether it's work or pleasure. And oftentimes that motivates me, or that perspective allows me to shift and get it done. And so that's why I'm trying to, help. I'm just trying to give you a bunch of different mindsets that are going to help shift your perspective to get into this and keep it going. And some takeaways that whether it's the last month of the year or any month of the year for that matter, that you can actually keep this train moving, so to speak, or get your train moving and keep it going, because there's a certain momentum that you can create and some inertia that will keep it going, but at some point it's going to slow down or stop. And so there's got to be some consistency with it. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And like I said, if you're in a place right now where maybe your biggest thing right now is that why you're having trouble moving forward is because there's too many questions. There's too many unanswered questions. There's some unknowns. You're uncertain about your direction and your message. That's why I'd urge you, don't try and do it by yourself. consider working with me as your mentor coach. And like I said at the beginning, if that's something you are open to taking a closer look at, visit my website, sellingcoaching.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page, and I will call you up and we'll create a relaxed conversation and we'll decide where to go from there. And so this way, imagine what we can accomplish in the next 6 weeks of the year. Going into January, I mean, you like some people that just hired me in the last week or so, it's so exciting. So like, oh my God, we get 5 or 6 weeks to the end of the year, and we're like really like hammering through some setup things, some marketing plans, things like that. So this way they're starting to make some calls and they're setting some stuff up for themselves starting off in January. So they're going to be so far ahead of the game. Whereas if you're starting in January, there's all that wind up phase, right? So anyways, if that's an option of yours, if that's a consideration of yours, like I said, reach out to the